That's a good look on you. This is number 5 now.
Cookie dough. That kind of day.
So yeah, so anyway, yeah, there was a time, I remember I heard a story of a woman who Rama sent her and somebody else to like San Francisco to pick something up, and they had to drive there and come back, and just to pick something up, like paper that could have been mailed.
Yeah. And he made it seem like it was this holy thing that you were doing for him, and you had to stop everything you were doing right then and there to go do it.
And then like these mothers who had to drop everything to go do it left behind 5, 6, 7 children that other mothers then had to pick up the slack for and take care of.
Yep.
So when we say our moms, or literally we were cared for by other mothers.
More than one person.
We weren't just cared for by our own mother.
No. Actually, half the time when we were there on the compound, I can't even say I was aware of where my actual parents were.
Right. I know.
Like, I really, truly. I don't remember. There was a certain time where we did everything to avoid them, but yeah, I remember being like super little, 5, 6, 7, and being with just a group of kids, and we just hung out with the group of kids, like, and there was one, maybe 2 adults that were watching the whole group of us. A lot of us were set to do like a task, cut grass with scissors.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. And getting the freaking blisters on your dominant hands. And so then you would try to, because we all had use our right hands, so you'd try to cut with your left hand when nobody was watching and hope nobody would see you do it and tell on you that you were using your devil hand, your left hand.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Or I remember, like, there was a time when, well, actually, pretty much the whole time on the weekends, we were given tasks to do.
Let's get back to talking about Rama's criminal activity.
Yes, because I don't want to get sidetracked on. I do want to say.
Have you heard that he was known for ordering and orchestrating the making and forging of official documents, like birth certificates?
What kind of certificates?
Like birth certificates.
I didn't know about birth certificates, but I do believe that he had hand in forging like passports for children and that kind of thing.
Oh, I didn't hear about passports, but I know for sure about birth certificates.
Okay, so fill me in on that, because that's the first I'm hearing on that.
I'm not sure that I can say publicly of the circumstance because it would give out
too much information.
It would give out too much information, but yes.
And that's something that I really want everybody to understand, that you and I are not doing this to out people or hurt people. We are doing this so that way this is out in the open and everybody can talk about it. And stop being afraid to talk about it. This stuff did happen. It's still happening. And this is real. And if we don't start talking about it, then
my job, or my perspective, I'm not trying to shield Rama.
no, and I don't want to shield anybody either who has done wrong things, but my goal isn't to make somebody or ruin their name or pinpoint them or anything like that. So,
Because
I'm
there
trying
still are
really,
innocent people involved. There's still innocent
yes.
children involved. There's still, there's still innocent people who didn't,
Yeah. And even
who
the
are
people,
very, very sorry that,
yeah,
they don't need to be punished. So,
yes, because they were victims just like we were.
mhm.
So I
So
really
that's why I don't want to tell the story publicly, but suffice to say, there are forged documents that are illegal, that are out there, that Rama's used to his advantage. And I know that I've brought this up privately to certain people in my circle, and I've been given pushback, like, Rama didn't do that. Like the inference is Rama didn't do it. The people around them did. And now those people around them are gone. So
yeah,
they were the ones that were bad. And so that's why they're gone.
yes. Well, just like they said,
Just like Rama didn't molest people, all the other people, all the other fathers around them who did were molesters. And so they're gone. So that's why it wasn't Rama, it was all the bad people around him that were the molesters, and they're all gone. And so the reason they're gone is because they were bad.
yeah,
Like that
and they
logic.
don't believe that Rama had anything to do with it. And
Right.
it's like, and then there's like other ones where we saw that he had something to do with it, where he okayed it and actually talked about it.
Like
And
we saw with our own eyes.
yes, and then to have people who were in there get out and say that that didn't happen just blows my brain.
Like that's the definition of gaslighting. And I don't have the credentials behind my name to say that. However,
but we can just put it there.
However, the guy that has credentials told me that that's what gaslighting is, because he said, when you see something with your own eyes,
Yeah,
and you know that that happened, and somebody else says to you, no, that didn't happen.
yep,
That's gaslighting.
yep,
And so when I saw and heard the conversation where Rama said, do whatever you want with her, and now this child says, I was sexually abused by this person. Who's at fault for that?
yep. He's the one that like orchestrated all that stuff. And I swear he purposely hunted out certain people. It's almost like he knew who he could use and who he couldn't use.
He did.
And the people that he could use, okay, so he would choose certain people with like mental disorders.
Yes.
And then everybody kind of knew that they had mental disorders or that they were a little bit off balance. And then
But
he
he
would
wouldn't let them
abuse
go. He
them,
wouldn't let them go get
get
medical
help.
treatment.
No, he would just say, you're not praying hard enough, or you don't believe hard enough, or your sins are this, or you're,
The devil lives in you.
the devil's in you. Yes. And then he would abuse those people immensely. And when they started to speak out, everybody turned against them and said, no, you're crazy.
They're psychotic.
They're psychotic. And I, to this day, know people that still like are out, but they don't believe that Rama had anything to do with that, or that I personally saw him sexual encounters with somebody that was not his wife. And I didn't know at the time what that act was, but when I found out what that act was, you can't tell me I didn't see that. I saw it with my own eyes. So everybody who says that that stuff didn't happen, I saw it. I know it happened. I heard conversations. I was, yeah. So even today, I know doing this video, there's going to be certain people that are going to watch this and like have a hard time hearing this and not believing what I'm saying. And
so go back to where we were talking about, so people in the past who have spoken out and have received backlash, where, people who have left or who were in the cult previously and then left, or, whatever the circumstance would be, they feel like someone or another maybe exaggerated or made up stories, whatever. You hear somebody's story, you hear somebody's account of what they went through, and my opinion is, who are we? Who is any of us that has been through the cult system to say to anybody else, what you went through isn't valid? What you went through is exaggerated.
Yep.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, there isn't a single person on this earth that I have told everything to.
Yes.
That has happened to me.
Yes.
And the sole reason for that is because Rama told every one of y'all that I was a liar.
Yep. Oh, he programmed us to believe that.
Rama groomed y'all to believe I was a liar. And he told me I was a liar. I had no say in who I was as a person growing up. You guys had no say in how you felt about me.
Yes.
It was dictated by us every day of our life, every minute of our life, every hour of our life. And unless we grab a hold of that and stop it in their tracks in our mind and say, we are not going to think like that, and we're going to get rid of it, that is still programming from Rama.
Yep.
And it's going to stay there, and we're going to keep perpetuating it.
Yep.
So if somebody says to me something that I can't wrap my mind around it, I'm going to say, but I wasn't there.
Yes.
And I didn't see it.
Yes.
However, I know what I did see. And for me, I know what did happen to me. And I know how many people have said to me the little tiny things that they do know. I've had a family member say to my face, "You're psychotic." And all that is doing is giving me more fuel and is giving me more fight and is giving me more spirit to keep talking.
Yep. Yep.
This is why Rama beat the fuck out of me when I was little, is because this was the child that I was born to be. This was the person God created me to be.
Yeah.
And he could tell, and he didn't like it, because he could tell I was going to be a threat someday.
Yeah. Well,
and
you know
now
what?
that I have figured that out, and I'm becoming empowered in that,
Yep.
I'm not backing the fuck off.
Nope. Nope.
And
you know,
so I am going to give anybody else who wants to speak their truth the same grace and the same empowerment.
Yes. 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 And I like, so when I first got back, like talking with my biological siblings and stuff, you know, none of them knew that I got kicked out. They all thought I had just ran away.
I know, because the
But
stories are
none of
always
them knew.
twisted.
Yeah. And like the first time I told one of my siblings, he like stopped in his tracks and turned around, like looked at me. And he goes, "What?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We didn't know that." I said, "Yeah." And that's the kind of thing, you know, nobody knew truly what happened. And
I believe
not
you.
only did Rama, like, so Rama would pit people against one another. Like, I watched him do it. I
Mm-hmm.
watched him do it among the boys, especially, you know, where he would say something to someone and kind of get them going. And then later on, he would see someone else and say something to them and get them going. And then,
Well, Rama did that to me. He would ask
yes,
me personal questions and make me feel like he really loved me and cared for me and get me to answer questions. And
yes,
then in the next meeting,
he would totally lay into you.
no, he would like, or he would say, he would ask me a question like, which one of the brethren's boys would you like to marry? Like he'd ask me that question when I was old, like an older teenager.
Okay.
And of course, like, you know, when the girls get to be that age, you're either going to go to college or you're going to get married, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. So then I would feed into that and I would tell him, right? The
Yeah.
next meeting, he would call out the person that I was interested in and he would say, start pointing out all my flaws and how I wasn't good marriage material.
Yep. Yep. It was all manipulation.
Snake. He's a freaking snake.
Yep. And he knew, like, yeah, he knew. I don't know how he knew, but he knew like personalities and he knew how to twist things.
Rama's also been known to have ordered the kidnapping of small children in broad daylight from a daycare center from the mother.
Well,
Where this
I
gang of men went and slashed the mother's tires, stole the children from the mom, and got away. So the mom couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go chase them, couldn't anything. And got away with, absconded with the children before the mom could even think about what happened.
Well, what would happen if an older kid would leave?
If
What
what?
would you do? If an older kid would leave, he would send a posse after him.
Yeah, he would say, if you left and anybody would know where you were, he'd send a posse after you to kidnap you back.
Yep. And he would send out like your siblings or your parents to like pull you back. And physically, not like physically shoving you into a vehicle or grabbing a hold of you and forcefully like against your will. I mean, I personally know people that happened to on more
Me
than
too.
one occasion.
So
And in public
fortunately,
places too, in like
yeah,
bus stations, train stations. I mean, I know one person who had to literally threaten to scream and have the cops come before they would leave her alone. And they took everything. she was left there with nothing. Like,
so when you're preparing yourself to leave the cult, you are preparing yourself to lose everything. You're preparing to lose all of your belongings. You're preparing to lose your relationships, and you're preparing to live in hiding.
Yes.
And when I left, I was 18, but also at the same time, my father had left the year before.
Okay.
So I felt reasonably comfortable that I could go to my dad and say, I'm not going anymore.
Okay.
When I told my brother, who's 4 years younger, that I wasn't going anymore, his words were, well, if you're not going, then fuck that, I'm not going. And so being 14, you know, my mom was still going, but my dad wasn't. And they were married, living in the same house, sharing custody.
Okay.
So I had a sharp legal brain back then even. And the fair was going on and my dad was there, was selling the encyclopedias there.
Okay.
And I knew that Rama wasn't going to send any of his God squad to the junk, heathen, horrible, devilish fair. And so my brother and I went to the fair and found our dad and told him that we weren't going to go to Rama's anymore. And his answer was, okay, well, you better go find something to do or I'm going to put you to work. Like, isn't that like a typical upbringing thing? Like, find something to do, I'm going to put you to work.
Yes.
And then he said, we close at 11 and if you're not here, you're walking home. Like, there was no sympathy at all. It was just like, these are the rules. Whoa. But Rama couldn't do anything because my dad had left and he had custody. You know, he had just as much custody, say, as my mom. So in our case, there was, and Rama was afraid of my dad. He knew what my dad would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, that's just, Rama knew when to cut ties.
Mm-hmm.
He knew when someone became a threat and cut ties.
So in our case, we were able to get out without the threat of being kidnapped, but we also had to be very careful and make sure we did our things properly. But it wasn't very long after that Rama told my mom to stop bringing the rest of them, because they were threats. They were spies. He told my mom that the rest of them were spies for my dad. So
now, how many of your younger siblings, after Rama said that, ended up going back and staying for a while? Did any of them? Or
well, after my brother and I quit going, there was one older sibling and 2 younger ones, 3 younger ones that were still going.
And did they stop going then after that?
And then when Rama told my mom to stop bringing them, all but one stopped going. And the one that was still going was the one that Rama had removed from our house when she was a young teenager.
Okay.
So I'm not, in all of this that I'm saying, I'm not saying that I'm not scared. I am scared. Yes. But I'm scared I'm scared of physical harm. And I have made contact with the proper authorities and have notified them. and I've made preparations because I know who I'm dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm smart. I'm a very smart person. Anybody in the world that has ever met me knows that I'm very smart. And I have all of these videos that are being made, are being backed up, and are being documented. And if something happens to me, these videos, my journals that I've kept throughout the years, I've had a blog, and the manuscript that I've written so far is all going to be made public.
Good.
So
Good.
they can try, but I'm not going to be quiet.
No. And you know what? I also want to say, if there is anybody who is out there that needs a safe place to go or help,
Yeah, reach out to us.
Yeah, because I have resources that I can, use and help out and provide help if need be. And not, know that it's safe. You're not going to be, whatever you're comfortable with is what, will happen. We're not, if you need someplace to go hide for a week, I'll give you some place to go hide for a week. If you need some place to just disappear for the night, I'll give you some place to just disappear for the night. Whatever it is that you need, let us know and we'll get the resources to you.
We know people in high places.
Yeah. And not only that, but I'm not afraid when it came to my siblings and helping them out. The fact that they were my siblings came above everything else.
Yeah.
Just like my children, like they come above everything else or whatever. So helping out other people is another step to me being not afraid to reach out and not letting the fear control what it is, because that's how he uses to control everybody. He uses the fear of speaking out. He uses the fear to control people. He uses the fear of missing your family. He misses the fear of those relationships being gone. He did that all on purpose to keep us quiet. And that is how this has lasted for 3 or 4 generations now. Quite frankly, because we're all afraid to lose somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, I'm not afraid anymore. Chalk it up to me just having the support system I finally need for that, or chuck it up to I'm just had it and I don't care anymore, or chuck it up
I
to,
might get there. I might get there too.
Well, you are another reason why I'm doing this, and you're one of the reasons why, well, I would say one of the main reasons why I was brave enough to do this. So I know that inside you don't feel that way, but I look at you that way. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
Because
I humbly accept it.
I do. I appreciate that.
I mean, I've never in my life thought I was strong, or like I've always thought of myself as a follower and that kind of thing. And now I'm slowly realizing that that's not at all who God made me to be. That's who I was beaten into submission to be.
That's what he wanted you to be.
That's who Rama wanted me to be, because I have found myself saying to people when they don't know how to do something or they're afraid to do something, I'll go, okay, here, I'll come with you, or I'll show you, or those aren't things that followers say.
Yes. Yeah.
And if I've lived through enough stuff in my life, both in and out of the cult, where I can help people, where I can loan them my knowledge or my strength or my experience, why not?
Yeah.
You
Say
know?
that's human.
So you did talk about you talked about how he preyed on people who had mental health issues.
Yes.
Um
That
I
was
want
one of
to
the things that shocked me the most when I was talking to people from the hierarchy, from the higher hierarchy that were kind of always up on the higher hierarchy when I was in there. And that was something that shocked me. And I remember telling them, yes, I know that they have mental issues, but he compounded them hundredfold and purposely used that against them to make everybody else turn against them. So they didn't even tell people inside the cult what was going on because,
I understand.
yeah,
I know.
yeah. Um, and you know, the other thing too that really, really, really shocks me, and it kind of shocks me about the political, really, really, uh, uh, that shocks me, and it's something that also shocks me about the political world today too, is a lot of the people that got suckered in were college educated
I know.
or had like or were young and had a rough upbringing and he used that against them to bring that in. But my shock truly is the educated adults
Just
that
because you're educated doesn't mean you can't be brainwashed.
I know. And that I guess that's really hard for me to wrap my brain around because when I think about educated people, but then I think about too, how many people did he send to college and they were brainwashed while they went to college?
Well, how many people did he send to college who used their education and got smart and left?
Yes, that too. I do have to, do you think it was a 50-50 on that?
I think more left.
Because he really pushed education there for a little while.
And then he quit because he was losing people.
Yeah.
Because he was pushing, I think he was pushing education so that he would have people as assets.
Yeah.
But then people started to use their critical thinking skills.
What they were taught. Oopsie daisy.
Oh, this is burning him in the ass. So he quit
Yeah.
sending people to school. And then we started pumping out kids that didn't know how to read.
Yes. Well, that was me. You asked me about phonics. You know, I learned phonics when I was working with one of my special needs children, and he was learning phonics. And so I had to teach myself phonics before I would teach myself the lesson he learned at school. And then when I went to his house, I could teach him the lesson. That is how I learned the phonics I know. I'm dyslexic, and nobody realized I was dyslexic uh, until I was a junior in high school
Well, that
and
doesn't surprise me at all.
cheated on a states and capitals test because I didn't
That
know
doesn't
how to
surprise me
read.
at all. Look at one of you know who I'm talking about. He had a learning disability. Instead of
Oh,
somebody not lovingly taking him under their wing and getting him the help he needed, Rama told his brother to beat the fuck out of him.
yep, yep. Anybody who had like um any ticks or like oddities or anything like that were really picked on. You know,
Yeah.
like kids who stuttered or had anything like that were really picked on, and Rama made it okay for people to pick on him and
And
push people
Rama
to.
arranged In the beginning, he arranged most of the marriages for the young people that came in single.
I thought
Right?
he arranged all of them.
I think he did.
Yeah, I think
My aunt and uncle were one couple.
Yep. I had an aunt and uncle that were arranged marriage. My biological parents were an arranged marriage. There was quite a few. And I know like a couple of my aunts and uncles that were younger that were there. One of the reasons why they went running is because they found out they were set up for an arranged marriage, and they were like, hell no.
That would have been me. That would have been me. I would have run too. Hell no. If a girl, and then later, like as we started getting older and kids were like sneaking out, that was the
tree line.
If she got pregnant, she either had to marry the father,
yep,
or she was forced to have an abortion.
Yes. And I know quite a few people who had, how do I say this? Abortions against their will and late term abortions against their will. Not only the mother's will, but the father's will as well.
Yep.
And I know more than one story.
Well, about I know of one where it was the baby was 9 months gestation, and the mother or the grandmother of the baby took the minor child across state lines
and had it done
to have the baby, and the baby was aborted and disposed of out of state. And Rama knew this happened. Rama ordered it. The child was pregnant before, came back without the baby. It was against the father's wishes. The mother is a professional.
I'm not going to say what kind, but
yes. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And but children are a blessing, saith Rama.
That at the beginning part too, there were many times where mothers would be in trouble with pregnancies and not able to get help. And
yes.
And babies died because of it. And they were not reported appropriately. And actually, if you start Googling stuff on the internet, you'll find a lot of this, what we're saying. It's not hard to find. You just have to do a little research.
Well, I know of babies who
were such a, and he wanted us to have so many children, and birth control was such a curse. Then why all of that?
Great. Why didn't we? Like the babies were just going to get aborted. Why didn't he allow birth control?
Yeah. I just don't. And it's almost, did he do it as a form of control? That too? Or was...
Hey, we got to end this one. We're at the end of this one, so we can do it. We can do another one. And this will be end of 5. We'll go into 6 next. Okay, I'll see you at 6.
Sounds good.